you know, when you outgrow friendships, it's not so much about the person. Sometimes it's just about outgrowing like a part of you that was reflected within that person. Does that make sense? Do you have any experience like, you know, outgrowing friendships?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of been my whole life, right? Like, it's like, you know, there's just two different sides of it because, you know, outgrowing people, outgrowing friends, you know, it's inevitable, right? But like, I think the other part about it that nobody talks about is admitting that just happened, right? And admitting that it's okay to change, right? So like, for example, you know, I was in high school, I was a popular kid, I had a bunch of friends, you know, but when I went to college, my goals changed. So when I got to college, I didn't necessarily hang out with all those people, not because they did anything wrong, not because I love them less. It just doesn't identify with where I need to be, right? So, you know, outgrowing friendships, it's fine, it's okay. I think it's all about how you handle it and how you deal with it and how you communicate with it. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, you'll have people that you used to really be close with, you know, say, oh, like this person's changed, da da da. And I think for me, it's just sometimes people just need closure. And it's like, yeah, I did change. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, I did. That's okay. You know, not because I love you less. I'll always be here for you if you need me. But where my life is going, you don't necessarily fit with that. And that's okay just to be upfront, because I think that occupying people, it's almost just like, it's like emotional rent. It's like, don't even occupy that space in my life emotionally if I'm not told to, if I'm not told the expectation, right? Limit my expectation, right? Like, let me know where I stand in your life, so I'm not holding on to certain things or certain ideals or certain ways that I'm supposed to feel, because you know exactly where I fit. And I think that we just need to be like direct with that. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And most people don't communicate that well, essentially, right? Which is why it goes bad. Yeah. And it's not talked about enough, I realize, right? I don't hear people talk about outgrowing friendships that much.
Yeah,
you know? But,
I mean, because nobody wants to admit that they changed. I think I'm different. I like that.
I appreciate.
I love to say that I changed.
I appreciate you put it right on the table, Justice. I like that. Yeah, it's like grow or die, like for real. Like if I'm not growing or evolving, I feel like I'd feel it in my spirit, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I heard you share about how it's important to recognize your niche and to like follow the niche. And this entrepreneur I love, shout out Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you know Alex Hormozy, but he's a pretty good entrepreneur. And he's like entrepreneurs that kind of fall off track and like they're not in touch with their niche. He's like, don't make me niche slap you. So I thought that was good. Talk to us about why it's important to stick to your niche.
I think it all depends on where you are in the journey. And like everybody's journey is different. I think that like what people end up doing is they end up comparing themselves to other people. Yeah. You know, comparing how much they've accomplished. But for me, that's the biggest mistake, right? It's just like, you know, it's have the horseshoe on, blinders, right? And the niche for me, the reason why I believe in the niche is that the niche allows a foundation, right? Because I think that like people fail to realize that being for everybody means that you belong to no one, right? Perfect. As versus catering your product or catering whatever it is that you're selling to a specific person that knows exactly what you're talking about, and you can speak to it and articulate to it, you know, better than anybody because you live it, allows for that to create a foundation. And then once you take the foundation, then now it's time to scale, right? It's just like, that's just the foundation of any successful business for me in 2023.
Yes.
Because things have changed.
I was going to reference that. So did you know this guy, Seth Godin, who's like a genius marketing guy? No. He's great. Okay, and he talked about like back in the day, it was like mass media. Like there was only like, you know, 5 channels to choose from or something, right? So it was like that. But now like with the internet and everything's breaking off into like factions and subgroups and stuff. Yeah. He's like, now like he's like, you can like thrive. Like people have like 1 million followers and like I've never heard of them like that. You know how often that happens? Like, cause that's kind of, every day. Yeah. I'm like, wait, how did I not know about this? Like, cause you referenced 2023 and that's like where it is. Yeah. The authentic POV, like having something to say and not enough artists like have shit to say.
You know, I'm not going to blame it on people. I'm going to blame it on the education system.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? Because you have to understand like how the education system is set up. And when you start going to school at age 4, 5, right, you're building your brain, and you're building what you are going to eventually become, you know, in your 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
And how majority education systems teach people to think is they teach people to just accept information, right? It's just
yes.
Hey, this happened in 1824 because history book A said that.
Can I take it a layer deeper?
Go ahead.
So do you know T.D. Jakes?
Of course.
Okay, so yeah. T.D. Jakes said, I just read his book, Disruptive Thinking, fantastic book. If you haven't read it, check it out. But he talked about how kids are taught to read these textbooks with all these outliers and people that stepped outside the lines.
Yeah.
And then if a kid tries to do that, they're like, no, get back in the box. Yeah. It's so, but the shit they're reading and learning about is all people that stepped out of the box. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Weird, bro.
Bizarre. It's exactly that, right? Yeah. So it's just like, you know, if you understand that this is how people have been conditioned, and this is exactly how people are trained to think over the years, they become what exactly it is that we're talking about, right? As versus, you know, having, and you know, and when you name all these outliers, and when you name all these people that have been successful over the time, you got to understand it's like there's always been something pivotal that happened in their life, right? A lot of it has to do with, you know, what they were exposed to, a friend that they had, something
hardship,
right? something that sparked a curiosity to go against, you know, what the lines have drawn for you. So it's just kind of like coloring outside of the lines. For some people it's hard, but for some people it's a necessity. It's the only way you know how to color, right? It's like, yo, I just don't know how to color in the lines.